All right, welcome to episode 96 of Shunya 1.
96, 4 to go.
96, I can't believe it. The excitement is palpable.
It is.
If you've listened this far, you've probably listened to the last show as well. Episode 95 with Sachin was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a good conversation about road trips, right? So we actually asked on our Slack channel the question, what's more important to you when you take a road trip, the destination or the journey? And for
it's
the
it's a very philosophical
question. But for the second year in a row, we have, or for the second week in a row, we have unanimous answers.
Okay.
So everybody says the journey, which I guess makes sense, right?
That's exactly what the conversation was about, right? I mean, that's exactly what the experience of the journey, especially on a road trip.
It's interesting though, right? I mean, I guess that is something that is in some ways, we need to come up with, I think, like questions which have a little more division in them, because I guess everybody is going to
Otherwise, the poll is just meaningless.
Yes, exactly. Because otherwise it's just like, hey, say present. Which I think is what it is right now. We got to come up with better questions.
But thank you for those who participated, and we will hope to do better questions.
Yes, we will.
But on to today's show, which has a very interesting guest talking to us today. And let's jump right in.
Yes, we shall. We're going to be,
All right, we're talking to Pranav Kosuri here, who's joined us all the way in the studio from Sweden. Thank you so much for being here, Pranav. How's it going?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Yes, so Pranav is the founder of Flic and Brandie, and I really want to hear how you became a founder from starting off as a molecular biologist.
What?
Yes.
From molecular biology to the kind of startups you're doing. Interesting. Okay, yeah, that's going to be an interesting journey to hear about.
Yeah, sure. I mean, thank you. First of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. My story, I guess, begins with me studying molecular biology. So my background, I'm half Swedish, half Indian. So my mother is Swedish, my father's Indian. So therefore, I had to focus on my education, the primary part of my life. So I studied molecular biology in Sweden and at Caltech in US.
Wow.
And then when I finished that and I had been this good Indian boy and done my part, I was like, okay, fine. I've always loved entrepreneurship. I've been doing all these kind of projects while I was in school. And I felt like, okay, now I really want to try this out. And the first step was really trying to learn about marketing and starting to understand like what do I need to know other than biology. So I actually went and moved to China.
Wow! And
took a job. I think it was like because I couldn't come to Sweden and apply for a job in marketing because no one would ever have me. But in China, I was able to pitch in myself as like, you know, this brilliant guy that was knowing a lot of things about marketing. So I worked actually for an Indian mining company, expanding their market in Southeast Asia. So I was doing a lot of different things, hustling around down there, and getting a lot of hands-on experience on how it is to develop a market, build a market yourself, sell products. And then after a while, I decided like, let's go back to Sweden and start my first company. And I moved back to Sweden. I had a couple of dabbles within different companies. So everything from doing like tutoring services to making pizza boxes with art on the front of it by young artists, and then selling the inside to different advertisers. And then I met my two co-founders in Flic. And we started Flic, which is the world's smartest button. It's a hardware product. It's actually a physical button that can control anything on your smartphone. So you don't need to pick up the phone, unlock the screen, and then find that particular app and then trigger that function. Now you can have a button to order your Uber to your exact location with the push of a button. Or we've done partnership with like Domino's Pizza in the States, so you can order a pizza if you're too hungover. And
so this button sits in your house, or it's connected to the phone, or
it sits like it has a stickable back, or you can have a clip on, so you can wear it, or you can set it up in your house, and it connects to your smartphone. And in the phone, you determine what kind of functions your button should have. So on one click, it can be snooze the alarm. Double click, it can be find my phone. Hold it in, it can be order a pizza.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And then
is this available in India?
No, unfortunately not.
Distributors should get in touch with you soon.
Yeah, they should. So let me know. But yeah, we're selling the products in 110 different countries at this moment. Our predominant markets are, of course, the States, and then a lot of European countries.
Nice. And how did that go? I mean, how long ago was Flic, and how did you see the rise of Flic, and what did you learn from there, maybe, which sort of helped you start what you're doing at Brandie today?
Yeah, I think coming back from Flic, and when we started off, when we had Flic in the beginning, we came with this idea that we want to build a button that can do exactly the same things as your phone. And I think like every single investor that we met or person that we met thought we were stupid. And then like, we're going to build this global company that's going to have like, what is your IP? And we're like, no, we don't have any IP in the beginning because we didn't have any money to invest in it. And we're like, we're going to build a brand. We're going to associate with the largest companies in the world, and that's how we're going to be market leading in this vertical. So no one really wanted to give us money, so we actually turned to something which is crowdfunding. So we did a crowdfunding campaign. We had like barely no money. We spent all our money on trying to set up this campaign and make a couple of prototypes of it so we can actually show it in the video. And then we bootstrapped everything, and we launched a crowdfunding campaign on Indiegogo, not the competitor to Kickstarter. And with absolutely no marketing spend, and I can go back to this, with absolutely no marketing spend, we made Sweden's largest crowdfunding campaign and raised over $1 million in pre-orders. So, and this was me starting to dabble in marketing for real and trying to see like, how can I really utilize the resources that is available to me that is not money, right? So what we really focused on, it was building a community and leveraging them, starting off with our friends and family, and leveraging on them to spread the word about the product and saying, telling them, their friends, why this product is so great.
Which is the story of every founder.
Yes.
I think you were saying earlier, every founder starts off with friends and family hoping that they'll believe in him or her, right? Yeah,
and I think that's... exactly what you're saying. Every founder has this story that, I mean, the first product, like the first users are probably your friends and family.
Right, of course.
But then, when we grew this company and we're, becoming larger and you start having money to spend on marketing, you kind of converge from that path of focusing on the community building. But I mean, we got great traction. We started to sell the product across the world, and that was really great. But what I really saw was that the majority or the bulk of my sales, even though I was spending all my marketing money on, the traditional medias that everyone else is doing, like Facebook ads, influencer marketing, all these things, but the bulk of my month-to-month sales actually came from regular people, not real influencer or considered real influencers with a couple of hundred of followers, were sharing about the product and saying like, hey, this is a fantastic product. This is how I use this product. And they were kind of building the messaging around the product to their friends and family. And it was so much more effective than any other marketing that we were doing. So I kind of like started to build out this structure of working with crowd marketing, which is a new term that we're coining.
Nice.
So, and that kind of led me into looking into what do I need as a marketeer. And together with my co-founder Douglas in Sweden, we started a company called Brandie, which is the reason why I'm also here in India right now. So Brandie is a platform that helps brands convert their loyal customers into vocal influencers. Right. And when we're saying influencers, that we believe that everyone is an influencer. It doesn't really matter if you have 100,000 followers or 1 million followers. Like even my mom that has 100 followers on Facebook, she is an influencer. And I think like the problem for me as a marketeer that I was facing was that I saw that all my bulk sales, or the majority of like the best marketing way, was word of mouth through like on social media. what I was missing was that I can't go out to these people one by one and say thank you for sharing and talking about my product. I really love that you love the product one by one. Like that wouldn't be time efficient at all. So with Brandie, we built this tool where you can actually in a scalable way engage with your loyal customers and kind of build we call it a social media loyalty program. And we don't want to say that we incentivize people to post, because people are already posting around the brands that they actually love.
Right.
We're just trying to build a bridge where the brands can reach back out to these people and say, thank you for doing this.
Right.
And if you continue doing this, we would love to have, have a conversation. We would love to, know what you're saying.
Get your feedback, get real feedback, because these are real customers as well, right? So I mean, it's a way to, in some ways, really kind of industrialize this idea of getting customer feedback on an individual basis rather than a survey basis, right? We all send out surveys and we get information on that. Yeah. But how do you kind of interact and kind of get
and also do it in a social space, right? Where people already are. It's not a separate one-to-one survey which they don't know if it will get seen. How does the tool work? Can you tell us a little more about the platform?
So here in India we have the Brandie app. So it's available on Google or App Store and on both platforms. Right. And how it actually works, we have collected 10 brands that we have selected that these are different verticals that we want to explore. So everything from Godrej Nature Basket to Raw Pressery to now we're launching Air India to startups like Pipa Bella that are on the platform. And when you enter the platform, all the brands will be locked. So you need to have an invite code by the brands in order to be part of that brand. Right. Or you can write a motivation why you should become an influencer or micro-influencer for them. Mm-hmm. And that's a way for you to be able to join this program. When you're then entering a program, the brand has different kind of rewards based on what level you are as a micro-influencer. And the user, in order to increase in rank, they share photos through the app with different stickers if they want to, or hashtags that are preset, so you don't have to misspell things and do those things. And then you share to your social media, so Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or wherever you really want to share. And then we kind of take a copy of that and present that to the brand. So these images will be then scored based on the quality of the image and not what a lot of brands are focusing on, which is like reach and how many likes they're getting and clicks. But rather on the quality of the content, like how brand related is this good content? And then we're kind of the brands are scoring these images and the user increases in rank and then can unlock different rewards. And
can you give some examples of what kind of rewards some of these brands you're working with are offering the users?
Yeah, so what we want to do, we are not a discount platform, and we don't encourage, like, of course you can have discounts if you want to, but we encourage something that is loyalty building. What this tool is all about is building this community and making your customers feel seen and heard. So there's a lot of brands throwing in like that is hosting events. So gold members can be invited to an event. We have the sport vertical, for example, we tried out with Bangalore FC, which is a soccer club in Bangalore. Mm-hmm. They're not really selling anything other than the experience of being there. So like the rewards there is more like, if there's a derby and it's sold out, these members will be able to pre-purchase the tickets before anyone else. You can get a meet and greet with the players, or you can get a signed frame. If it is like, for example, Bane, which is a fashion brand, you can have a stylist style you if you're a good person, or like if you're performing well on the platform.
Wow, it's very one-to-one, very, very things which people actually will appreciate versus just money, which is very transactional. Yeah. Right? I mean, in India, to be honest, in India, everyone comes in here, and especially now that the market sort of developed, and I would love to know why you chose India. I mean, apart from your initial schooling and upbringing, but people look at this as a numbers game, right? Everyone still looks at it as like, hey, here are almost 1 billion people. Half of them almost have smartphones. I'm going to build something for these, and I'll get my numbers. Is that why you also started? But you're saying that it's not really about the numbers, is it? Or it's about genuine reach?
if you're talking to why I started Brandie in India.
Yeah.
So for me, building Flic and going to all these different markets, I mean, US is still our largest market, right? And I think Flic is is still targeting primarily the early adopters of the people that are starting to have a smart home, because it's a huge benefit of having a button that can control all your lights or your Sonos and things like that. And smart homes are picking up. But so we needed fairly quickly to start expanding into new markets in order to increase our sales, right? And the easiest market to go to is the language, where they speak the language that we can communicate in. So we went to UK, and then we went to Holland or in the Baltic countries. But as soon as you wanted to grow outside that, and just entering Germany, which is not, it's a 1 hour flight away from Sweden, you have the language barrier, right? You have to change the marketing communication. You have to change the app language. You have to do all these different things. So when I founded Brandie, and I've been of course doing things in Sweden with Brandie, but when I really wanted to grow this, it was in India that I was focusing. One of the reasons is, of course, that I'm half Indian, and I really see an opportunity here, and I love this country. But it is exactly what you're saying. This is a market that you can grow for a very long time. It's not, there's different kinds of people within India, so you can't really say that, it's one nation and everyone will interact the same way.
Right.
But you do have some similarities between the regions, and you, of course, have English as a primary thing. So you have the opportunity of grow here for a very long time and really find your fit before you need to expand outside the borders.
That's true.
I think we're going to take a quick break, come back and talk some more.
Hey everybody, welcome to another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please make sure you do. We're IVM Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Speaking of social media, one of the things that we really enjoy doing is we love seeing screenshots of people listening to our shows. So if you're listening to something and you want to let us know what you think about things, just take a screenshot, post it to Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, wherever, and tag us, and we'll tag you back, and we'll talk to you, and we'll let you know what we think or what do you think. We'd also like to thank our sponsors for this month, Savari, Storytel, and Paytm Money. We really appreciate the support. Also, on another note, an IVM-related note, we're looking to hire. We're looking for producers, content creators, audio engineers, back-end developers. We're looking for somebody in the data specialist kind of space, graphic designers. We're looking for all different kinds of people. So if you want to join one of the best places to work there is out there, then send us an email to careers@indusvox.com with your resume, and we'll get back to you shortly. On Cyrus Says, actress and soon-to-be director Tiska Chopra talks to Cyrus about her childhood in Afghanistan, how she got pulled into acting, her new original web series Hostages, and how she's looking to write and direct more in the future. On the Ronnie Screwwala podcast, Ronnie talks to me about the pursuit of inflection points, understanding the size of markets, and the importance of brand in creating scales. Speaking of the Ronnie Screwwala podcast, if you want to send us some questions for Ronnie for his last episode, then please do so. It's at shows@indusvox.com. In case you missed it, check out episode 4 of The Note with Maruk Inayat. She lists 5 reasons why Rahul Gandhi stepping down is the right decision. On Shunya 1, Shiladitya and I are joined by Sachin Parekh, founder of Easy Roads. Easy Roads is a great platform that allows you to do local road trips, and we discuss the startup and the tech behind it and local travel. On the Empowering series, Zarina talks to Hital Desai, Senior VP at N Paradigm. They discuss different reasons why people quit their jobs, the importance of interpersonal relationships between employees and employers, and more. On the Pragati podcast, economist Anupam Manur is in conversation with Pawan about where Britain stands in regards to Brexit 3 years later and why it has cost them 2 prime ministers. And with that, let's continue on with your show.
All right, welcome back. From a point of view of how you've seen the few brands you mentioned that you're launching with over here, they're all sort of brands which are, I think, they have a loyal following, I'm sure, already, right? It's an established brand. Do you see that there's a fundamental change in marketers valuing these sort of conversations, word of mouth reach versus the numbers reach? Is that happening, or is it still like how long is it going to be a numbers game versus for people who going after actual loyal customers?
Yeah, I think it's in the early stages in India, to be completely honest. And my, before we even launched, we were here for, over 6 months just doing market research and analyzing brands that we saw were doing great things. But it is in early stages here. I would say, and coming back to the point of every founder has experienced, that the first step is trying to cultivate a community, a community feeling. When you go a step where there's marketeers that haven't maybe experienced this, sometimes they just need to show numbers all the time, right? And that becomes a problem, because you're kind of losing touch and you're only looking at the number of followers and you don't see that these are people, right?
The engagement goes down, basically. It's not a deep engagement, it's just a number.
And I think there's a lot of brands that are doing great things. I mean, but it is a challenge, because it's a long-term game that you need to build. It's not something, and this is something that we are very clear with the brands that we are onboarding, is that you have to have a long-term strategy in this, and you won't necessarily, in some cases we have seen, but you won't necessarily see a huge amount of it's not like doing an influencer marketing, you see a spike, right? This is of a consistent growing thing that you need to cultivate. You need to start researching on how should I utilize this tool, because it is a new tool, and there's nothing really out there that is doing a similar thing. So, but I do see a lot of brands in India that is starting to understand that we need to build a community, we need to build brand loyalty, and we have these people that are loving our brands. And I mean, even our conversation in the very beginning, you have very loyal listeners and they are very vocal. How can we utilize this, or how can we work with this?
How do we leverage this in such a way that you're going to have your listeners be your ambassadors, right? In our case, listeners, but in other cases, customers, right?
Yeah.
How do you get them to be ambassadors for you in a way which is effective and which is somewhat kind of, I don't want to say repeatable, but in some sort of process, right? I mean, because otherwise it becomes a very ad hoc kind of situation, right? You have a great listener, we have a listener who makes these diagrams about our conversations, right?
That's right, yeah.
It's a very ad hoc kind of situation, right? But wouldn't it be great if we could work with, kind of figure out a way to give him some sort of intangible reward or tangible reward around the idea that, hey, you give us such great content.
That's right.
We're going to make sure that, we recognize you. We recognize the fact that you're
Aditya,
doing that.
we recognize
you. Yes, we do.
Thanks for doing all the sketches. It's awesome. Yeah. But you're right. See, one-on-one, some brands and people who notice that there are people talking about you, you reach out and you do this one-off thing, and it works and it builds a small community. And organically, these communities are being built, like you said. You saw it happening. You're trying to harness that power. But at the same time, given India, again, given this huge country we are, and it's growing so fast, everyone else who's not working with you, right? Every other brand is just throwing marketing dollars at every other channel that they have, including all the programmatic ads, Facebook ads, hoardings, whoever can afford, whatever they can afford, they're just trying to buy.
But that's actually one of the reasons why this is so much more important. I mean, I'm not trying to teach you your business, right? But I mean, if you think about it, right, a lot of what is happening right now in the advertising space, right, in the general kind of marketing space, is Facebook and Google basically sucking up the oxygen from the room, right? I mean, it's not a new insight, but what you need to be able to kind of figure out ways to be able to have platforms which can really leverage the fact that what's unique, right? For us as an ad selling company right now, IVM, right? What is unique about this? It is this engagement that we need to promote, right? So I think that is what you're going to start seeing a lot of media companies wanting to do. Yeah. So that's going to be, I think, a big.
My question was, how do you make it stand out while in the face of all of this other marketing being pumped, which is you always have a paid hashtag trending every day. I think there's always something sponsored.
You definitely have, and I think we're not going to see that we're going to take a huge. And we have a long-term mission in India, and we are well funded, and we are we have a strategy to grow this with brands that wants to start putting this in focus. And I mean, we won't see a huge shift of people not spending on influencer marketing. I think, there's a lot of great things with Facebook advertisements. There's a lot of great things about influencer marketing that you still need to utilize and, of course, spend the money. But exactly what we're saying, as a marketer, you also need to find ways to kind of stick out from the crowd, right? And if you're fighting against Coca-Cola or whatever, they're always going to outbeat you or, in the spends, right? So, but what, some brands don't have is, a brand, a community that's actually loving the brand. And I think using the crowd, and I mean, I think every brand has word of mouth has been around for centuries, right?
Correct.
It's just that word of mouth hasn't, and word of mouth today is happening on social media.
Right.
But brands aren't able to work with that word of mouth
at scale.
At scale. And I think initially, maybe the pains that we're solving for the brands will be that, because there are a lot of brands in India, Raw Presser is a great example, that reaches out when someone, posts a picture on social media around their brand, they reach out to that person and say, thank you, we appreciate you, thank you for doing this. They do that. But as social media manager, if you sit there, that's a tiresome job to do, right?
Yeah.
So with our platform, we're giving the tool, CRM tool, where the brand actually can see, okay, these are all the conversations that are going, and I can pick and choose, who am I going to interact with, and who am I going to pick up in my own stories, or, things like that. So maybe the tool initially will be that benefit. And it's also about one other thing, since you're sharing through our platform, since the user are sharing through our platform, is that today, the majority of accounts on social media, or people on social media, have private accounts, right? So there's no way for brands to actually see, what these private accounts are talking about, right? So with our tool, you're actually able to see. And I would never open up my account just for a brand just to be part of a competition or something like that.
Right. And that's that shows that you're a real user, and not just someone here for the likes.
Yeah, and it's but if you can then, with our tool, you're able to see what are these people sharing in their private networks, right? Which is really valuable, because that's when you get the genuine story. And our tool is about, it comes from me being a marketeer and seeing all these challenges that I want to learn what are my users saying about me, right? And how are they promoting my product within their segment? Because then that's maybe something I can adapt in my marketing when I'm reaching out, through Google Ads or Facebook or whatever I'm doing. So, so that is so initially maybe the tool will be most beneficial in that aspect. But I think as you grow this community, you're going to see, and we have seen, and the whole success story of Flic, and I think a lot of companies around the world, is based on that they have become really popular by their crowd, right? And so it's a long-term play, and yes, a lot of people will spend money on these what we call traditional platforms. But I think there's a lot of brands also that are starting to understand that we need to find new innovative ways to actually start getting this. And also, if I can just mention one thing, is this bell curve, Geoffrey Moore. So my analysis is that a lot of ads today, and if you do influencer marketing, everyone is going out and saying, this is the new product, this is super cool, and you're targeting this early adopters, right? Because they are triggered by being first, they are triggered by being these people that are wow, this is super cool, and they show off to their friends, and that's their gratification, being first, right? Any company that wants to cross the chasm and enter into the early majority, right? How are you working with that right now? Because you can't, they are getting bombarded with this messaging that this is a new product and this will revolutionize your, your everyday life so much. But how these, because they are pragmatists, right? How these are actually turning into your customers is by seeing their friends and family starting to talk about the product, because the trust is there, right? They understand that, my friend, he is a great technology, or he's a very tech savvy person. So he's probably knowledgeable about this.
Yeah.
So when it moves from one to another, right? When you can start seeing those connections. So that's something that you guys look at too?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's also about helping those, because within this early majority segment, there's also a small bell curve within that as well, within each point. So you're always going to get some people in early majority starting to buy the product. But how do you convert them to actually vocalize it? Because they're not getting the gratification of being first. So maybe you can give some sugar on top, and then that will convert them to start this, these conversations.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to help out with as well, and that's where we're kind of unique. I feel like, yeah.
And you mentioned there's a reward system and a tiered system, and it's actually interesting. I'm going to check out the app. What do you want to do a shout out to folks who want to check it out? And of course, you mentioned you have a private account, but if you want to say where people can reach you and say hello, and
LinkedIn.
Are you starting an office here in India? Are you hiring?
Yeah, we're definitely looking for talented people. We have people working here in Mumbai, and we have people working in Bangalore. So, can I share like Pranav at Brandie.in. So Brandie like the liquor, but with an IE. But send me an email if there's any questions. Add me on LinkedIn. That's where I'm probably most responsive. Even though I'm running a social media business, I'm not too active on social media to be completely frank.
Maybe that's why you can focus on the inner workings
mechanics of it. Exactly. But also guys, just a reminder, do sign up for our Slack channel if you haven't. We're at ivmpodcast.com/Shunya1. There's a button over there saying join the Slack channel. Send us your email and we'll send you an invitation. Also, please do a review or a rating wherever you're listening to that. That really kind of helps us push stuff forward.
And Pranav, I know you'll be doing a lot of trips to India. You want to do a shout out to the whole India-Sweden connection? We've actually had Robin here from SIBC before, who spoke about all the cool stuff these two countries are doing.
Yeah, I think, Robin, he's a great person, and he is really driving this India, or Robin and SIBC is really driving this collaboration between these two countries. And I think it's really important, not only for, I'm talking from the Swedish side, being an entrepreneur in Sweden, it's really important to start opening the eyes to the Indian market. And there's huge opportunities here. And the things that they're doing, like the tech flight going both ways now. So they're actually, bringing a delegation from India to Sweden during the tech week, and having these entrepreneurs and influential people interact, or founders interact with the Swedish startup community, and building these networks. That is really crucial. And then in the same way, he's or SIBC and Robin are bringing a delegation to India, right? And for the second time around, which the first trip was a real success. And I think it's really crucial, because I feel it's important that both markets start understanding each other. There's a lot to learn from, for Indian entrepreneurs from Swedish entrepreneurs. We have Spotify, we have Truecaller, we have all these fantastic companies that are built. So, there's a lot to learn from Sweden for Indian entrepreneurs, and there's a lot to learn from, in Sweden, or Swedish entrepreneurs to learn from Indian entrepreneurs. So I think these initiatives that are driven by SIBC, and they're really tackling a beast here, trying to convince both governments to really put focus on this, and they have been very successful in it. It's going to be fantastic, I think.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to grow.
Thank you so much for doing this. This was a great conversation. It was lovely to have you. And for everyone listening in, we will talk to you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ronnie Screwala, first-generation entrepreneur and co-founder at Upgrad. My podcast, Dreaming with Your Eyes Open, is a companion podcast to my best-selling book, Dream with Your Eyes Open. On this podcast, I talked to Amit Doshi, founder of IVM Podcast, about my entrepreneurial journey. I walk you through my successes and failures, mostly my failures, and the lessons that I learned from my experiences, family, and colleagues. What was my first entrepreneurial venture? Why I chose Japanese cartoons over animation cartoons on Hangama? Why did I sell my stake at UTV to Disney? Find out all this and more on the Ronnie Screwala podcast, Dreaming with Your Eyes Open. New episodes out every Tuesday on the IVM Podcasts app, website, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
The most engaging and the most useful conversations you may have in your life are likely to be with your most challenging customers. Hi, I'm Ambi Parmeshwaran, and on this podcast, I will take you through my book, Sponge: Leadership Lessons I Learned from My Clients. Packed with real stories about real people, but most of all, packed with the innumerable lessons I soaked up from some of the most iconic business leaders like Ratan Tata, Azim Premji, S. Ramadorai, Karsanbhai Patel, M. Damodaran, Dr. Kurian, and many more. Don't forget to tune in to the Sponge Podcast. Keep sponging to keep learning.